Welcome to SportsBeat KC, the Kansas City Star's daily sports podcast. It's Wednesday, May 10th, and I'm Blair Kirchhoff. My, how the Kansas basketball roster has turned over. I count 10 players from last season that won't be back this season, including Kevin McCullough. But plenty of new faces, starting with transfer Hunter Dickinson from Michigan. The 7-1 Dickinson was a two-time All-Big Ten selection who averaged 18.5 points and 9 boards for the Wolverines last year. It was a massive get for Bill Self. And on today's SportsBeat KC, beat writers Gary Bedore and Shreyas Laddha speak to how the Jayhawks will use Dickinson next season. My 2 cents? I think DeJuan Harris has a chance to lead the nation in assists. Okay, let's get started talking KU Hoops with Gary and Shrey. It has been a while since we have talked about University of Kansas athletics, and it's time to end that run. We've got Gary Bedore and Shreyas Laddha here. Guys, I hope you're doing well. And looking forward to this chat. And I don't know if you've heard, but Kansas picked up a player in the transfer portal that others are talking about. So pretty big news for the Jayhawks. Hunter Dickinson. Gary, take us through the path that brought Hunter Dickinson to Lawrence, and then we can discuss whether it's the biggest get in transfer portal history.
Yeah, that's what some of the guys are calling it. Some of the national guys said it the biggest fish in portal history has been caught by KU. But he decided to leave Michigan, surprisingly, after 3 years. 2-time All-Big Ten first-teamer that's 7'1" and can shoot the three. So Bill Self and his staff, you try to find out if the kid will consider you, and they got the word he would. And he visited, was talking about maybe – he's from Washington, D.C. area, so there was some talk he might want to go to Maryland, stay in the area 20 minutes from his house, or go to Georgetown, but he did not. He visited Kentucky, KU. So he ended up choosing the Jayhawks, and Bill Self flew down there to hear the decision in person, and they're happy to get him because they're plugging in 20 points and 12 rebounds probably, and instant starter and all that. So that was their big get in the portal so far.
Huge get, huge. So you're right. Last year, 18.5 points, 9 rebounds, 42% on threes. I was trying to think, the transfer portal is relatively new to college sports, but transfers aren't. There have been transfers for as long as there's been college sports. And I was trying to come up with the list of the highest profile or the greatest transfers in college basketball history. And the one I keep coming back to was Hank Gathers. You remember Hank Gathers, Gary? He started his career at Southern Cal, ended up at Loyola, and of course, and was an All-America at Loyola. So, but this one is this might end up being. I think Shreyas, you can probably claim, at least in the couple years of the transfer portal, a few years of the transfer portal, he's the most accomplished player that has switched teams. As Gary said, 2-time All-Big Ten, second-team All-America. Those guys don't usually avail themselves in the portal. How will Bill Self use Hunter Dickinson?
I think Dickinson is the perfect Bill Self big. You can play the entire offense through him, feed him in the post. Every time they've gone through a big, it seems like to run their offense, it usually turns into a national title or at least close. And Dickinson is that guy. You can just push him down low and you let him go to work. He's really skilled around the basket, and he has a little bit of a modern twist to him. He shoots 42% from three. He averages about 2 threes a game. He said he's hoping to bring that number up when he talked to us, and he wants to take more threes and deeper threes. Dickinson just allows KU to play a lot of different ways, I think, which is huge because Kansas lacked the ability to play, I think, different lineups and different styles last year, and I think that was ultimately one of the reasons why they lost earlier than anticipated. You can put out a guy like Ernest and him on the court, or, if they get the Duke kid, former Duke commit or whatever, and you can play different guys and really play their strengths. And, imagine him and Ernest on the court. You could have Ernest down low and Dixon at the four. At the perimeter, basically. And you can mix and match on defense. Let Ernest guard whoever the tougher matchup is, and have Dickinson come in and play good help side defense and stuff like that. I think it's going to be really interesting because it just allows Kansas to play, I think, different styles. And I think that, versatility and that variability is something Kansas lacked last year.
For sure. And when Kansas has had Final Four teams under Bill Self, they've always had a productive big man. McCormack, of course, with the national championship team a couple seasons ago. Even Azubuike, was he a freshman in 2018, Gary, or a sophomore? I can't remember.
I'll look it up while we talk.
I think I want to say he was a freshman. That was the Devontae Graham team, and it was mostly a perimeter team, but they still had the big guy in the middle. And then, of course, in 2012, you had Jeff Withey and Thomas Robinson. So Kansas has always, when they've had their best teams under Bill Self, since the 2008 national championship team, they've had a productive and NBA, a few. Well, McCormack's not in the NBA, but Withey and T-Rob and Azubuike all, got drafted, and he loves working with the big guy, right? I mean, that's been one of his MOs at Kansas is, and I had to be one of the selling points for Hunter Dickinson, right, Gary? Just the way that
when he was talking on the teleconference, Dickinson said Self already told him that he was working on some plays and different stuff because they can use, him in traditional ways, but also they can go big. If Ernest Udoka sticks around, they can go with KJ Adams and Dickinson. KJ's, last year he played the 5. Yep. So, Bill Self has to be loving the fact that he can, like you said, when they've got the good teams, they've got the big man. And if Hunter can stay healthy, which is always key for all players, that, this guy, no reason if he doesn't get in foul trouble, can't play 33 minutes or so. So Bill's got to be thrilled because, like you said, in the past, it's worked with bigs.
Yeah, I didn't even mention the 2020 team that went into the NCAA tournament as the overall top, would have gone into the NCAA tournament as the overall top seed.
Yeah.
Didn't get played because of COVID, but that was Azubuike's final year at KU, and they were just terrific. You had Devon Dotson at the 1 and Azubuike at the 5, and now we're looking at DeJuan Harris at the 1 and Hunter Dickinson at the 5, and some good potential 2, 3, and 4 in between. What is how do we look at the potential starting lineup for this team? How do they take the floor in the opener, or maybe even more important? And I'll ask Shreyas this because nobody will know these opponents better than Shreyas. When UConn and Kansas take to the floor next early December, who will Kansas run out as the starting 5?
I think DeJuan Harris has got that one locked up and Dixon at the 5. And then this is where it gets a little interesting. I think Timberlake probably gets the shooting guard position. I'm wondering who plays the 3 for Kansas next year. They don't have a ton of wings. They have Marcus Adams coming in, but he's a freshman. I wonder if they play another guard at the 3 and allow them to play Ernest at the 5 and then put Dickinson at the 4, or mix and match a little bit, or if they get the Duke commit or former Duke commit that visited this past weekend, Mackenzie Mbako, if I said that correctly, I believe, they can play him at the 4, Dickinson at the 5. There's a lot of different lineups I think that they could go with. I'm really curious who plays that small forward position for Kansas, because I think that's the one spot I look at, and I don't think it's locked down yet for Kansas. And I think it's going to come down to just how Bill Self wants to play. I could easily see self saying, hey, we want to play multiple guards, and putting Arturian Morris in there, the Texas transfer, and giving him the ball because he has a lot of potential and they want him to play big minutes. Where I could see them going, Timberlake's a proven shooter. He can play that Grady Dick role. Let me put him with the two. And then maybe if you want to play supersize a little bit, you can put, if they get McKenzie, they could put McKenzie at the 3, Dickens at the 4, Ernest at the 5. I think it would be a little crowded on that end, but they still have 2 scholarship spots available, and they could easily get a wing with one of them, and I think that's what they need, is one more wing, just a little more experience on the wing side. But I mean, Dickinson, Dewan, I think Timberlake, those are the 3 starters for sure. I think the other 2 are kind of to be determined.
Okay, what do you think, Gary? Where does Elmarko Jackson fit into this?
Well, if he's as talented as advertised, these guys need minutes, and if they don't get them, it'll be the revolving door again next year at this time, with guys upset about minutes and leaving. Right. They've got about 10 guys who can really play again. How do you keep – let's look at it from Elmarko's point of view. He's thinking he's coming in as a very, very great high school player, and he wants to play. And if you look at all the bodies, he's going to be fighting for those minutes. And then you got – I don't know what's going on with Marcus Adams. The guy averaged 30 points a game in high school, and now he goes to some all-star game, which is all the best players on the West Coast that don't go to the McDonald's game, scores 44. Very confident guy, and he's good. He's apparently really good. Chris Johnson went to Montverde in Florida, one of the greatest prep schools, and was their lead guard. This guy's obviously highly regarded. And if they get Mackenzie Mabako, or however we pronounce it, sorry about that if it's wrong, the guy is the number 9 ranked player in the country. And if we didn't have the portal, Kansas fans would be going crazy. This is a Wiggins type signee when you get a top 10 guy. So he's ready to come in and play the wing minutes, Paul Pierce minutes maybe. And I'm forgetting. Well, Arterio Morris is a McDonald's All-American who, like MJ Rice, didn't play it well last year, play a lot. Morris played more than Rice. And then Nicholas Timberlake, everybody thinks that maybe he'll replace Grady's long-range shooting. So, wow, a lot of bodies. If Bill Self, remember, he's fallen in love with the 4 guards. KJ Adams, is he a guard? The kid had a fantastic year. And is he going to play the 4 with Dickinson and get the same minutes he got last year? KJ Adams was responsible for a ton of victories. So I don't really know, but they've got a lot of talent again, and hopefully they'll stay healthy, and it'll be really interesting.
And we haven't even brought up Kevin McCullough. Is there just no expectation of him returning, or there's a place for him if he wants to come back, a returning starter? What's the latest on McCullough?
I don't think he's coming back. I talked to his dad a little bit last week, and he said he's doing 3 workouts a day. The vibe is they're going real hard on this, NBA thing. He wants to be out of school, I think, and out of classes. I think he was ready to go. I think really since he transferred to Kansas, he just wanted that 1 year. When I talked to the family last, and they said basically that the coming back would almost be like the feedback isn't quite good enough for him to play real minutes in the NBA. And I think I've said it before with Kevin, if he can show he has a 3-ball that's consistent, I think he has a real NBA career ahead of him, or at least in the G League for a little bit, and then the NBA, because his defense is going to get him minutes I think is the next level wherever it is. And if he can show he is a consistent three ball, he would be the ideal 3-and-D guy in an NBA setting, Yep. And I think that's what's going to be the biggest thing for him. He's pretty athletic. He's great defensively. If he can show he can shoot a little more consistently, I think that could help his career tremendously. But from what I gather, I don't think he's coming back. Obviously never say never, but it doesn't seem likely right now.
Terrific defensive player, that's for sure. But I think he might end up getting fewer minutes next season, which would be his 6th in college than he did this past year. So, okay, good to know. Good to know. But it's such a right now on paper, just such a deeply talented team. And Gary, you wrote about this. They actually with the addition of Hunter, they found favor in some of the way too early preseason 25s, didn't they?
Yeah, they're already getting 1 or 2, number 1 in the country or 2. Yeah. So the expectations will be high again, and they've got a really difficult schedule. So it'll be interesting to, if they start number 1, they play Duke early, and the Maui field is the toughest one ever. I forget the teams now, but they're all really good. And so they're going to be in the top 5 again, like they have been. And they're going to be really good as long as they stay healthy. And Self will have a lot of fun because they only have 3 returning players from last year's team except for the walk-ons. And they're going to have a lot of practices this summer because the NCAA lets you practice as long as summer school is going on.
All right, let's take a real quick break. There's so much more to discuss, but we'll keep it short on the other side of this break. But I want to ask Gary about some other news items involving Kansas basketball, and we're going to ask Shreyas about a little bit of KU football coming up. We'll be right back. We are back on SportsBeat KC, talking University of Kansas sports with Shreyas Laddha and Gary Bedore. Gary, some other news involving the Jayhawks in basketball here recently. Our buddy at the Houston Chronicle reported that Kansas might be playing a basketball game against the University of Houston in Mexico City this year. How's your Spanish?
Not good. But yeah, I've seen this year or it might be the following year, but okay. You probably would know better than me. Yeah, that's interesting that Yormark wants to do that. I skimmed a couple stories about that, and he wants to bring the Big 12 brand there, and the Kansas-Houston game would be the one, like you said. So it'll either be this year or next, I guess. I did talk to Self recently, but forgot to ask him about that. But he seems to always be in favor when Kansas has the country's attention. The bigger game, the better. So now that would probably be a Big 12 game. So
yeah,
I'm sure he would. You would think he would want a home game to go with that rather than have to go to Houston if they play twice. So,
yeah, well, they're talking about.
Yeah,
I was going to say they're talking about maybe because of the 14-team league next year, playing some conference opponents as non-conference or playing conference opponents early, like in November or November, I guess. It's going to be really interesting to see what the basketball schedule ends up being with a 14-team league.
Yeah, I saw that where somebody was talking, maybe Yormark, but somebody was talking about playing remember the old Big 12 holiday tournament, starting the year with Big 12 teams playing each other. And I'm almost positive most of the coaches would be against that. I mean, they want to play non-conference teams, and if you have to add 2 or 3 games more against teams you play anyway, they wouldn't want that. So that'll probably be a big story down the line if they talk more about it. But yeah, somebody in the Big 12 office, I think, had brought that up. I don't know if you would be in favor of that, Blair, but I think now, too many Big 12 games. Why add 3 in November? Just to the thing was to show the country what the Big 12's got, but I'd rather have KU play Duke or something like that.
Yeah, and look, they like you said, they've got Duke, and the Maui's field is loaded, and they've got UConn and the Big East Challenge. So, and Kansas always plays one of the nation's top schedules every year. And those are carefully crafted non-conference schedules, right? They are. There's a method to the madness of non-conference scheduling, and I agree with you. I don't think any coach would want to see. We know how ragged, even though it's high level, how ragged some of the February games are during the season, because they beat up on each other all year long, and the quality of play loses. You don't want to start playing these guys, conference opponents in November, and it's bad enough to have to start them right after Christmas now because of the length of the conference season. I can't see where a coach would be in favor of playing conference opponents early. That's exactly why there was the Big 8 holiday tournament went out of business, because they were playing each other at Christmas, twice during the regular season, and then possibly in the postseason. So the Norm Stewarts and the and the Billy Tubbs of the old Big 8 said, we're not doing this anymore, and that was the end of the holiday tournament. So, hey, something else, Gary. A University of Kansas former player is the NBA MVP. That's a nice little recruiting note for Bill Self, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, because Joel Embiid is the NBA. There's 4 or 5 superstars out there, maybe more, but he's one of them. And they can, continue to talk about Joel Embiid when they hit the recruiting trail. And it's amazing. The guy is pretty darn good. And now they've got 2, Wilt Chamberlain and Joel. And it'll be interesting to see if they retire his jersey just on the basis of what he's done in the NBA. They could always change the rules not guidelines about jersey retirement, because this guy, even though he was only here 1 year and got hurt and didn't play in the postseason, he's going to end up an NBA Hall of Famer.
I'll never forget his game up in Ames. That was, and then Fred Hoiberg, the Iowa State coach, talking about it afterwards. That was kind of a defining moment for Joel Embiid and his potential. And he was, there were times during that season. Of course, that was also the Andrew Wiggins seasons. Think about that, having Wiggins and Embiid on the same team and losing in the second round of the NCAA tournament to Stanford. But you're right, Joel Embiid didn't play in that game. He didn't play not most, but the last few games of the regular season and not in the tournament. But it's a terrific thought. The winning the MVP is a good moment for Kansas, as well as the Embiid and the 76ers and something that Kansas can talk about in their media guide for next year. So, hey, Shreyas, let's switch sports for a second. Talk about football. We just had the NFL draft in Kansas City. I'm looking at Union Station. Looks like all the stage is down. There's not many more signs of the NFL draft being here, but it's gone. Kansas thought maybe we were going to get a player or 2 drafted. Jayhawks on the third day. That didn't happen. So 4 Kansas players signed free agent contracts. Do you have a thought or 2 on this group, and which ones might have the best chance of sticking with their NFL team?
I'm particularly high on Lonnie out of all of those guys. I think he's done a tremendous job just getting up draft boards. He had a really nice year last year. He's been injured too, and he still had like 7 sacks. He had a great career before he transferred to Kansas. Did great in the Senior Bowl. Then he did great at the combine. I think he has the tools, I think, to be a great, linebacker, defensive lineman, depending on whatever he plays. I know he switched to linebacker, so he's not as undersized as he was on defensive lineman. But I think he's got the best chance. I mean, I think the idea that the other guys could, I think, stick around. They could. I just don't know if they would get actual playing time. I think Lonnie and Earl are the two guys who have the chance of earning and sticking around past training camp, not just being practice squad fodder, as some would say. Not that that's a bad thing. It's a lot of money. I would love to be practice squad fodder. But I think Lonnie in particular could carve out a nice role for himself, whether it's as a backup in the league for a while or not, remains to be seen. But I know scouts were saying that he had a chance to be a quality backup or eventually develop into a starter in the NFL, which would be huge, especially for a guy who's undrafted.
Okay, it's Lonnie Phillips. He signed with the Browns, and offensive tackle Earl Bostic Jr. signed with the Cowboys. It's always for guys like this, if they can participate on special teams and kind of win their battles there, that helps their chances of sticking with the NFL. We'll see what happens with those guys. Got the news this week that Big 12 football media days in Arlington, Texas, July 12th and 13th. Media applications in this week, so right around the corner. It'll be here sooner than we think. I'm really looking forward to seeing all 14 Big 12 teams in Arlington at AT&T Stadium. Quite the crowd there this year. So, all right, guys, great conversation. Always enjoy it. And for Shreyas, Laddha, and Gary Bedore, I'm Blair Kirchhoff, and we will talk to you guys again soon. That'll do it for today. Thanks to Randy Mason for producing the show, and to our SportsBeat KC staff of Monty Davis, Jeff Rosen, and Scott Chasen. Tip of the cap to Shreyas, Laddha and Gary Bedore for sharing their insights. Morning Sports Edition was loaded with NBA and NHL playoff coverage, Major League Baseball, golf, auto racing, so much more. Check out the nation's top digital sports section at liveedition.kansascity.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back soon with another SportsBeat KC, where we talk sports in Kansas City every day.